Let's talk a little Vito Arujau. So you had speculated for a while, is Vito going to wrestle on June 15th? Is he not? Turns out he requested a Final X delay, and it was granted. So at a time and location to be determined, Jax and Vito will wrestle their best of 3 Final X series.
Yes.
Fargo. No, I'm just saying.
What does that mean?
Something is going to happen at Fargo.
Oh, I thought you said Marco. I was like,
Adding a new bit to the show.
I was like, oh, Marco Polo for an FRL first. Yeah, I mean, Fargo would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I think. I thought this after the Open. I kind of basically mentioned that I thought this was a possibility, and I even said I think Jax is going to win the spot. Health being a portion of that rationale, and now the delay was official. Going to be probably in July if I had to guess, and a lot of conversation anytime this happens, but it is part of the process. It's something only afforded to returning medalists.
How do you feel about that? Do you think returning medalists should be able to request a delay? Do you think it should only be returning medalists?
Yeah, so the process for Team USA should be to make sure you get the best guy. The process should not be to make sure the medalist makes the team, right? Those are two different things. And I think there is a reasonable stance that would say, okay, we should make sure that there is an advantage for the medalist. I've always agreed with that. I've always thought I agree with the Final X sit out, that you should get that if you're a returning medalist. Where I get a little bit, is this really what we want to do? Is this really determining the best guy? Is if we give all these extenuating circumstances. In Olympic years, when a guy's got to make weight and wrestle a whole tournament and then wrestle a fresh guy, that's where I'm like, are we trying to get the best guy or get the medalists on the team? When you allow a delay like this, are we trying to get the best guy or are we trying to get the medalist on the team?
Is he hurt?
Yes, he's hurt.
Okay.
So he's able to request and you can't just say, oh, I'm hurt. You have to go through a process, through a doctor that gets approved, the whole thing. So whenever there is this delay, there is an actual legit injury for sure. There's no doubting that. But the one thing about, and the reason I bring this sort of specific, verbiage up is because the world champions are when they are 74 kilograms, 79 kilograms. They're wrestled on this day at this time, no matter what, come heck or high water. So we don't get if it were the world championships, you don't get the opportunity to say, oh, well, let's push it. And to me, I feel like in some ways, Final X should have that kind of a finality. Yes, absolutely. I feel like we are determining our team on this date. We are determining who our rep is on this date. And your readiness, your preparedness, whatever version of you that you are that day, that's what you get to put on the mat to try to make the team. And I think that would be good. I'm not saying this is the wrong process. I'm saying I would like if the World Championships and Final X had a similar sort of really importance, I guess is the word.
Now,
right?
Theoretically, wouldn't the closer to that day to determine your team be the more accurate representation of the best guy? Meaning, as long as it's before camps and travel and whatnot, if you determine your team closer to the World Championships, that's the closer level they're going to be at the World Championships.
Perhaps. But I don't think the difference is significant in terms of the timing. I think just the difference is, hey, everyone has marked June 14th as the date we're determining our world team, and now it's, a month and change later in all likelihood. That's my only perspective. And I just think that's, similarly, like the Big Ten championships, they are when they are. And you have to wrestle at them at a certain level to get to the NCAA championships. That's how Final X sort of is. Like, this is how you get to the big one, right? And so by this being how you get to the big one, you make Final X more important, right? So I just think I think you could look at that. And who's to say that Jax isn't the better option right now? I mean, Vito's certainly more proven. I guess my point is if Jax Forrest sprained his ankle after the U.S. Open and wasn't going to be 100% for Final X, why would you not want him to also be able
That I
do
agree
it?
with.
So that's where I don't understand. Like, I understand protecting the. If the idea is to protect the medalists, we have done that. You are getting them. They skip to the end of the line, and I support it. I'm for it. But it's like now it's like beyond a little bit where I think it needs to be, and it could be debated, right?
Well, my thing is, you both qualified for Final X. Now you should be on a level playing field. Vito qualified for Final X by winning a world medal last year.
Yeah.
Jax qualified for Final X by winning the U.S. Open. Now you're on a level playing field.
Yes.
Now everything's even.
All square.
Yeah.
It's whoever wins the next two matches.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
now the medalist still shouldn't have an advantage because only Vito could request the wrestle-off. Jax is not able to.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with you guys. The only thing I would say that's kind of like beside anybody's personal opinion and anybody's how they feel about this process is that the process was on the books. It's very well spelled out for all the athletes, and the athletes have an avenue to have input on this or request changes that USA Wrestling periodically goes through with the athletes committee. So if, besides the fans, besides what people want to see or what they think is fair or not, if the athletes want to change or the athletes don't think it's fair, there is an avenue for them to voice their, displeasure or
And it's been this way for years.
Yeah.
Has,
So
has this rule ever been brought up? Like, when's the last time this
Kyle
rule
Dake
was?
did this in 2019, and it was interesting then. If you recall, if you can go on a time and listen, that's maybe an example of Kyle Dake, because I saw a tweet replying to some questions about this situation, replying to something I put out, like, "Hey, if you're not ready, June, you're not going to be ready to win Worlds." Well, Kyle Dake literally got the delay and won the World Championships. He beat Alex Daringer.
Didn't he
But-
compete overseas?
What he did do, which was hotly debated, he delayed, and basically his note or whatever said he couldn't compete until whatever the date was, August something, for the Final X wrestle-off. Meanwhile, Kyle went to Spain and wrestled in the Spanish Grand Prix in July. So people were like, wait, I thought he couldn't wrestle until August. He's wrestling in July. And that did create that was a kerfuffle. That was a thing. People were not pleased about that. But it was all within the rules. It was all allowed and nothing, everything was above board. But people did feel like, wait, I thought he couldn't wrestle yet, but he can. So yeah, that was different. I don't anticipate Vito's going to do that because I think
Is wrestling the only sport that does such a thing? Because I don't see any other sport that would say, "Hey, I'm not ready. Let's delay the NBA championships until next week."
Yeah.
It's a little
delay the
different when it's
NCAA
individual
champions." Yeah.
sports, and
team
I don't
sports are
follow
just-
Olympic sports.
I'm not aware
You
of.
just pick the team. There's no wrestle off. There's no basketball off. There's tryouts, and then the coach just says who he wants on the team.
Coach K goes, I want this guy, this guy, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know I don't follow many other sports, certainly no other individual sports, so I don't know how it's done.
It's interesting to compare to how other countries do it. So Vinay Sawach, who works for UWW, brought up that in Japan, a wrestler couldn't make it to weigh-ins for something beyond his control, and he requested some extra, ability to do that, some flexibility. And Japan's federation said these are the rules. No, you're not there. There's no delay. There's no whatever. But if you look at the couple other wrestling powers like Iran and Russia, they just straight up make up on the spot. Okay, well, if you're a guy of, let's say, Sajalayev stature, we're either just going to put you on the team or we'll make whatever rules we want up on the spot. And if people want to complain, whatever, but the Russian Federation isn't going to change, and Iran does rather similar things. So, I mean, does any other country do it? I think Iran and Russia are pretty big examples of countries that do way more to protect the guys that they want on the team.
Yeah.
Like sometimes Sidakov just hits a Granby rule and they don't call two.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kozak's in the chat. He found a good parallel to UFC. Fights get canceled and rescheduled all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, they don't. They get canceled, but somebody else just steps in to fight somebody else, to fight the guy that's doing it.
That's not always true.
Yeah, but in most cases, one fighter steps out, but somebody else steps in. They don't they don't cancel the whole card.
I think, and I also think that's pretty different too. Just because
No, yeah, it's
about, it's not to, that those matches just stand on those fights. Just
It's obviously different, but like you're just trying to find a parallel in another
Yeah.
sport. It's hard.
I think it's hard.
I'm not a fan of delays.
I
But then again, I'm not a good wrestler, so
Yeah.
I asked the chat. I said, should delays be allowed in the trials process for returning medalists? 57% yes. I also asked them, is it fair that the returning medalist can request a delay, but the U.S. Open winner can't? And that was 54% no.
So people would maybe be open for all being able
exactly.
to.
If you're in the finals, you're in the finals.
Yeah, that's like, all right, the world medal is now, that's been factored in. Just kind of like, I think that's exactly what JD is saying. I totally agree with that. Once Final X is set, you're on equal standing
Yeah.
at that point.
As a fan, though, if that is the case, I would prefer that no delays would be allowed.
Same here.
Because I don't want Final X losing. I don't want the rule to get abused. I don't think anybody has abused it yet. I'm just saying if now both guys can request one with a doctor's note, pretty soon you'll have multiple matches not being wrestled at Final
Hey,
X.
I know plenty of doctors that I can get a note from.
They have to be
Yeah.
the USA Wrestling approved doctors. You can't just find some quack.
No
No
hey,
problem.
Man, I got connections.
All right.
I think Sion
Sion
doesn't
knows
have
about
USA
If you
Wrestling
need a doctor's
approved
note, I
doctors.
can
Flip
hook
him a
you
little
up.
Andrew Jackson.
Yeah,
Free donuts for the refs again.
there you go.
Now, didn't Vito request this rest off before he actually had to? Isn't
Yeah, he
That was
could have
courteous.
pushed it to 48 hours before Final
Right.
X, which would have been insane.
Thank you for not doing that.
Yeah. And, you know, you're seeing video of him. He's posting videos of him training and competing, so he's not totally laid up, right, in a way that he can't even get on the mat. So that's good. Including he posted one the very day I said I thought he was going to request a wrestle-off. So that made me wonder if they're going to play some head games, because the timing of that post with me saying I think he's requested was, I thought, interesting.
Did you
Now-
have the scoop?
Yes.
That almost makes me more nervous for Vito and his health coming in, where I'm like, if you're able to work out now, but you're not healthy enough, you already know I don't want to wrestle June 14th.
Yeah.
How much better are you really going to get? Is this a nagging thing that's been going on for
Or
months?
is it just head game with the high schooler, delaying the high schooler?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think Vito would do that I don't think it has anything to do with Jax or anything other than he's not 100%. He's not been 100%. I think even through NCAAs last year, the World Championships last year, he wasn't. My biggest concern in all this is is Vito taking the time to just get fully healthy? And maybe full health is not a possibility anymore. I would think it would be. And is he sort of like the allure of staying on teams and winning world medals? Is that maybe shortchanging him somewhat down the line? That's one thing I am worried about. Like,
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so basically he was dealing with some sort of a neck thing throughout last year. Remember, he lost to Crookham twice,
Yeah.
didn't look the same, but he just gritted it out and wrestled amazing NCAAs, won the 2 out of 3 against Marcus Blaze and got bronze at the World Championships, but was never seemingly fully healthy, fully Vito during that time. And now seeing this delay, I'm wondering, is he taking the steps to get fully locked in healthy so that come 27 and 28, we get the best Vito Arujau that we think can be a world and world
That's
champion?
the case. Why don't he just take the year off?
Well, that's my what I'm wondering.
Here's my thing. He basically did. He did not compete
True.
from when was Worlds? October
Or September.
until
Yeah, October.
now.
October.
And so if 6 months, 8 months, whatever, isn't going to do it,
2 weeks, another month. I don't know if it's going to really.
well, that's
make
kind
it.
of what I'm saying about worried about his health, but also is taking now a full year and a half going to do it? Or is this always just kind of going to be a thing?
Yeah, they got to weigh the advantage of he wants to compete, win a medal, and then sit out again. And let's say he's like 96%, and another week will get him to 97. It's just one of those
Odds.
Just
Yeah.
take whatever advantage
You could get.
He's gonna end up competing even if he didn't wrestle this year at World. Like, let's say he makes the team and wrestles at Worlds, he'll end up wrestling the same amount of matches in this 2-year span. If he didn't wrestle at this Worlds and has to go make it through the U.S. Open.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like he'll have to do 2 tournaments no matter what.
Assuming he medals.
Yeah, yeah.
Assuming he medals.
And I'm saying this as
But at the same
Not the-
time, is he going to be ready for Worlds? Because he hasn't, like, your Matt, is his Matt readiness going to be ready,
I think he'll
if
be
he
ready.
if he beats Jax,
He's ready.
he deserves the spot and should go compete. But as not a doctor, and I don't know what's going on. As not a doctor,
You're not?
Doctor of Donuts, maybe.
I'm Dr. Feelgood. Yeah, not a licensed physician. Like, it is taking a full year off going to make that much of a difference versus 8 months.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Have to ask the real doctors, not just Dr. Feelgood.
That's right.
Hey, I know real doctors that can get you a no.
Boy, if you keep
Keep going back to these doctors that you
You need,
know.
hey,
I
you
don't know
need
if
to
I
get on
wanna
that
know those
Uncle
guys.
JLP
I know
plan.
people.
That's how you really get healthy.
JD.
I'm just saying.
All right. So great.
Maybe a trip to Germany, little stem cells, something or another. I don't know.
Yeah.
These are more things I don't know about.
All right.